Hi, and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with...
Sean.
Chris.
And Lee.
And a couple of half-crazed cats, so if you hear any crashing during this, you can definitely blame them too.
Or Pirelli.
Yeah, or Pirelli. It's all Pirelli's fault. Get down. Not you, listeners, Bruno.
Sorry, he is climbing the art.
Art criticism is not something a cat usually does. Right, where were we? Yeah, Baku, all Pirelli's fault. We done. That was a race and a bit, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like flag to flag thriller as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it made up for last time out and the next race.
Yeah,
who knows?
It's France, we've got an idea.
It's Paul Ricard. We know what's going to happen.
No, I have faith.
God,
that we might finally get a decent France.
Right, can we clip that and have it ready for like 2 weeks' time?
Yeah. Well, yeah, easily done. Hang on. That slight technical cock-up never actually happened. It's easily done to clip, Lee. Hang on, I've done it now.
Yeah.
I've done it now without pausing or stopping.
So the thing is, and this is my thought on it, even boring races should be interesting this year because of how close Mercedes and Red Bull are.
You saw Monaco, though.
Monaco's different. That's a shit anyway. I mean, even Paul Ricard, there's more chance of overtaking than there is Monaco. Like at least you've got a couple of big long straights for DRS shenanigans there.
Yeah, but the way that circuit is, Flood, you said it best 2 years ago. It's a test track, so everything runs in testing conditions, which means all the cars go to their expected ability. So you just get a parade with no changes,
unless you cars that are really close.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If the Red Bull and Mercedes are close to each other, I think that at least you're going to get some DRS caper going on.
Maybe, unlike last time, maybe being able to pass and stay on track and keep the position.
Maybe.
Because I think just about the only pass that happened during the race after lap 1 last time got taken away from Danny Rick. So yeah, Baku. I mean, where to begin? The tyres certainly were an issue.
Yeah.
Well, 2 of them were.
Do we know yet if it was actually tyre failure or whether it was a piece of debris that just got into either tyre?
Pirelli have said that their initial investigations have shown that both Stroll's and Verstappen's had a puncture, as did Lewis.
When did Lewis get a puncture?
He had a cut on his tyre when they examined it after.
Yeah. Was that anything to do with sliding with the wheel locked up
Probably,
for about 3 miles?
Yeah, it obviously hadn't imploded at that point, but he had a cut on his tyre.
So it could be something to do with winding the curves like at Silverstone that year.
Yeah, similar,
Yeah,
I think.
I don't think the tyres he locked up were the ones that had the cut on them. I think the tyres that had the cut on them were the ones that were changed.
During the red
restart.
flag, I see.
Yeah. Which I must say, like, props to Red Bull. Your man from Red Bull when he got on the blower to, is it Michael Nessie? Is it Michael Nessie?
Massey.
Yeah. Saying that, you've got tyre failures here. It was a good job to red flag this race and make it so everyone can change tyres, because that wasn't the best thing for Red Bull at that time. And I think it was a good racy attitude rather than maybe if we could just hang around here for 5 laps, find a safety car, we've won the race anyway.
Yeah, it was the sporting thing to do, wasn't it? It was
Yeah, I mean, it was their sporting director, so he's a very
That's his job.
Sporting director.
Yeah. Maybe the performance director was there going, what the fuck are you doing? You need to perform.
Or Helmut Marko just there with like a pickaxe or something in the background, ready to take him out.
The best comment I saw on Sunday about Helmut Marko was when he was having everything explained to him by one of the Red Bull engineers, and we'd all come to the conclusion it was Pirelli's fault, and it was the first time that Marko has been confronted by a problem that he can't resolve by sacking someone, because he can't sack Pirelli.
Just had a great idea.
Although apparently Pirelli will be in the number 2 seat in AlphaTauri if they don't book their ideas up.
I've just had a great idea.
Oh God!
You could have a magic Marko, like a magic 8-ball, but like when you shake him, his glass eye fucks around, and then when it stops, it's got like a statement on it. Generally, you're fired.
You're sacked. You can't.
Yeah. That's the Danny Kvyat edition.
No, the Danny Kvyat edition has got an extra "you're rehired." So, shall we go through the teams, or have we got any other sort of general comments to make? Because I think
it's all going to come out when we do the teams.
I think you are correct.
Yeah, I think so. Right, we'll start with Williams. Russell, classified 17th, didn't finish because his gearbox died after the restart, and Latifi 16th and couldn't serve his penalty because Russell's gearbox died and blocked the pit lane.
Yeah, so this was a bit of a fuck up, wasn't it? He got a penalty because the safety car had to go through the pit lane, and they were going to box him for a pit stop, and then they decided last minute not to pit him, so they said stay out, which he misunderstood to mean stay on the track. So yeah,
and all of a sudden gained 2 places.
Yeah.
And got a 10-second penalty. Stop-go penalty, which, as you say, he couldn't serve, so then he had that added on to his race time.
Which was 30 seconds.
Yes.
That was just an all-round general set of cock-ups. The engineers said the wrong thing to him, but he should have questioned about, well, why is everyone heading through the pits and you're telling me to stay out?
Yeah, surely if everyone else goes that way, something in the back of your mind must go, ooh, what's happening? The safety car's gone that way. What's happening here then?
Just miscommunication, isn't it? Maybe they didn't tell him that everyone was going through the pit lane.
Yeah, with hindsight, it should have been come through the pit lane but don't stop, or something along that lines.
Yeah.
Russell, on the other hand, looks a little bit racy and was in danger of overtaking Bottas at one point.
Everyone was in danger of overtaking Bottas.
But Williams shouldn't race a Mercedes, remember?
True.
No.
That's why his gearbox went pop Toto during that red flag with a spanner.
In the billiard room?
Yes.
F1 Cluedo.
Yeah, careful, George. You need to remember who you're driving for.
Now, apparently, he has had more meetings with Mercedes, and the rumour is hire me or fire me.
Yeah, we alluded to this a little bit last week, didn't we?
Yeah,
but
and it turns out he's sick of fighting for 16th place.
Yeah,
seems fair.
Yeah, put him in the good car, and he'll be fighting for first, as he's proved.
Yeah, pretty much.
But. I mean, Williams kind of, when they were running, performed as expected, which is behind everyone else and faster than Haas.
Yeah, they're not miles off the pace like they were a couple of years ago. They're on the same lap-ish most of the time, but yeah, they're still way, way back.
Yeah. Right, on to the cluster that is Haas.
Oh.
Chris, you noticed Mazepin can change his engine modes when he's not in Monaco.
Yes, he did. Charlie 85 was not possible in Monaco, but Charlie 87 certainly possible in Baku.
Should have put boobs on Charlie.
So it's easier to get Charlie in Baku than it is Monaco, then? Probably cheaper.
Well, less pure, probably.
There was also for Haas a near wanker moment when they released Schumacher with one tyre not entirely attached.
And yet he still came out of the pits ahead of Mazepin.
Somehow, yes.
Who, during the mid part of the race, was lapping 8 seconds a lap slower than the leaders.
Oh, hell.
I wonder if he had an issue that we haven't been told about, other than the fact he's driving a Haas.
I mean, that is a big enough issue to begin with. But, I mean, they have become the joke team this season. More so when they had the non-energy drink sponsor. Non-energy drink?
Yes. Yeah.
You know, they got their excuses in early. We're not developing the car until next year. We've got 2 rookies. Ha, we've got all the money.
Now spend some of it then.
Yeah, maybe a go fast pedal.
Yeah, they're not developing the car. It kind of looks like they've not finished the car.
I don't think they've developed the car since Fred Flintstone test drove it. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can say about them really, because aside from the pit stop, they didn't really interfere with anyone's race. They were only holding each other up, especially on the last lap, which Gunther is apparently he had words with them about it. Don't know whether there was any fuck slamming or anything like that.
I hope so.
But aside from that, not really noticeable. Anyone got anything else?
Not really.
No.
They were
Not really.
completely anonymous. So, as you say, aside from the unattached wheel nut, which I don't know if the engineer spotted it before Schumacher did, but he was very close to not cross the pit lane line to so that they could actually wheel him back and get that sorted out.
Right, next up, Mercedes.
By virtue of finishing positions, yes, the third worst team, or 7th best, if you will.
8th best.
8th best, yeah.
Eighth
Sorry,
best.
I can't count.
I'm just making sure now you got every team on it. Yes, you have. Yeah, right. Okay, where do you start? All right, Hamilton was in second at the restart.
Yeah.
Managed to put the car further up the grid than Bottas, thanks to getting a decent tow in qualifying, but that's what qualifying's about. Bottas getting pissed off that he'd been sent out to do a lap and give every Tom, Dick and Harry a tow, according to Ted Kravitz.
Andy got shat on in qualifying as well by the Tsunoda red flag. I've lost count of the red flags in qualifying.
Yeah, I think it was a Tsunoda one, yeah.
For there were many.
There were many, but yeah, that was... I think he didn't actually get to set a time in Q3. Or he did, but it was the shitty slow one when he had Hamilton on his box.
Oh, I think he was...
in the hole.
I think at one point it was like 25 seconds 25 seconds off pole when he was doing an installation lap. And Hamilton was about 18. I know they went out to do
2 warm-up laps, remember?
Yeah, they went out to do a full charge. They did an extra full charging lap, and it just all went wrong. But Bottas's race performance.
I mean, do we blame that on the rear wing, or the fact that Bottas said the rear wing is exactly the same thing?
Well, that's the thing. He seemed to not have a preference for the rear wing, so if he's chosen that rear wing, then even if it is the rear wing's fault, it's kind of Bottas's fault.
Yeah, for not being able to choose the better option.
Yes.
But when you've got a car running second, you don't expect to have a car running 10th.
And somehow he was always 10th. When the pit stops happened, he didn't seem to gain a place or lose a place at any point. He was just always anonymously 10th.
Until he got completely done.
Yeah.
And
I think his tyres went, didn't they? Because they pitted him again under one of the safety cars.
But then didn't really make up anything. And I mean, 12th. I think he's already been told that this is his last season. But
David Coulthard
they're not making it public.
The same. Yeah. David Coulthard said that when he was told at McLaren, it was he basically had 18 months notice. He was told that in the middle of the season that he'd have one more full season and they weren't going to renew his contract because they'd signed Montoya. And I think the same thing's happened to Bottas. I think they've been told he's not having his contract renewed, and they've told him early so he can try and find another seat, perhaps. If any are available.
Something. Do you not think he would make it known though if that was happening?
might not be allowed to yet.
Maybe.
I mean,
I personally think...
remember when Montoya left McLaren? He came out and said, "I'm racing in NASCAR next year," and then Ron Dennis said, "Well, you can go now, for all I'm concerned."
Well, it happened to Gasly, didn't it? I think he said he was replacing Kvyat before he did, and
then didn't.
Marco, shipped him off to Super GT for a year to sort of punish him.
Yeah.
I personally think that they need to get rid of Bottas now, before, because you've got 3 races back to back now, and they can't risk it.
No, we've got France and 2 races back to back.
Yeah, but we've got like a 2-week break, haven't we?
Yeah.
Now, so they need to make this decision now and get George Russell in the car.
Who we assume is the replacement?
Yeah, or whoever not even. I'll take the British racing driver bias out of it, and whoever they decide, like be it Hulkenberg or whoever it is. Anyone that they think can do a better number 2 job than what Bottas is doing right now, because I'm sure people will turn around and say, "Oh yeah, well Bottas, it was probably just a blip, and he'll be back to his mediocre best." But if he's not, and this is the beginning of him failing, they can't win either championship.
I mean, this not being a podcast to do any unfounded rumour or conjecture in the slightest, you got to see a lot of Stoffel in the Mercedes garage this weekend.
Oh, did we? I didn't notice him. That shows how much attention I was paying. Yeah. Excuse me, Stoffel.
Too much of a gamble again, though, innit? Yeah. Too much of a gamble.
For the rest of the season, perhaps not.
But then they've got to find someone else to stick in their Formula E car.
Formula E, less of a problem. Yeah. Nobody cares if Stoffel
Bottas to Formula E.
I would say
because it went so well for Massa after he finished in F1.
Yeah, I'd say the more likely thing to happen there would be that they had to give Williams a driver, and they would give them Stoffel, because he hasn't raced in F1 for ages. You can't expect to stick Stoffel Van Dorn in a Mercedes and have him help win a world championship. Just like that.
It would be a swap. Surely, if it was George Russell, as we surmise it probably is, it would be a straight swap. Russell for Bottas.
Don't know. You would think so for Valtteri's sake, but maybe he doesn't want to do it.
I agree with what you said about Mercedes are going to struggle to win 2 titles if this is how Bottas's performance is going to play out for the rest of the season. That then turns Lewis Hamilton, as Paul said before the podcast, into Max Verstappen. No wingman, therefore no defense, no attack. So, it makes it incredibly difficult to do it all by yourself, no matter how good your car is. So, but at the same time,
and then made all the more difficult by the fact that your nearest competitors in Red Bull now appear to have 2 cars capable of running at the front.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, yeah. So, but I do think Mercedes are very reluctant to swap mid-season. Because.
Will this be, and this is probably more one for Red Bull, but it's just come into my head, so I'm going to say it now. Is this the first Red Bull win by not Max Verstappen since Monaco 2018?
Yes.
Jesus.
Which was Daniel Ricciardo, was it not?
Was.
It was.
His car that day was broken, don't forget. Ricciardo's car that day was fucked.
Yeah, what was it? It lost the MG UK, so it was something like 60 horsepower down.
160.
Was it 160?
Christ.
Yeah. Yeah, so and I think he was lapping about 4 seconds slower than he should have been, but no one could get past.
The only thing I remember that race for was the swan dive into the pool in the energy centre at the end of it.
Yeah. It was good formation.
Bit too much splash. I think Olympic judges would have marked him down. And there was also concern over Eddie Jordan's wig at the time, I seem to remember, because he was there with them.
Oh, I thought the Eddie Jordan wig was a Mark Webber win.
Was that a Webber one?
And his glasses came off, so then he was doing like little dives trying to find his glasses.
But he'd obviously...
was holding on to his hair.
Yes.
I think when you get in the pool, you have to wear a chin strap with them, don't you? Not the glasses. Anyway. Right, so, Hamilton. pretty decent drive up to the red flag. Kept complaining that he couldn't get close for an overtake though, and that just goes along with everything that we've said about Mercedes for years, that they're not good at following.
They've but it was said during the race, wasn't it, this weekend, that they were following better than any other car.
I didn't hear that, but
even the way Hamilton was hanging onto the back of the Red Bulls, that's what makes Bottas's lowly finishing position even worse, is because they seem to be really good at following people this weekend.
Well, one of them did.
Yeah.
I don't know, Bottas was quite good at following people. He was following 11 others over the line.
There's a difference between following and shadowing.
Sorry about keeping coughing down. I've got a frog in my throat or something.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. Try and get rid of it. I'll have a drink, see if that sorts it. But yeah, I mean, Hamilton was running really well, and we had all the usual complaints, which I think we're just immune to now. So, tyres are gone, not getting the power out of this turn, the C's the wrong shade of pink. I don't know. I gave up listening a while back. He's there hanging on in third place. You know, Vettel wasn't close enough to get to him at the time, but he couldn't get that last second over Perez. He came close under DRS a couple of times, but
he didn't have the delta to be able to pass.
I feel if the craziness with Verstappen's tyres hadn't have happened, I think Vettel would have been able to get past Hamilton with tyres.
Well, as it turns out, if Hamilton did have a cut in his tyre and a puncture, then
he might not have needed to get past his tyres.
He'd have got past him while Hamilton was going side on into a wall, probably.
Stay on track and wait.
No, in Vettel's luck, it would have been, he was trying to get past him, that his wheel went and we went into the side of him.
But it didn't happen, and at least he's happy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Talking about Lewis Hamilton for a second, as part of the Mercedes team that are in the 8th out of 10 at Baku, been defended by Toto Wolff, saying he hardly ever makes any mistakes. No, but he made a mistake. So, you know.
I'd argue as well that he hasn't been under pressure for a long time. I think, was it this week or last week I mentioned that, he's had an easy ride of Formula One of late, and it's interesting seeing how he's coping with it not being like Formula Lewis.
And with respect to Perez as well, it wasn't him battling a title contender. He was stuck behind the number 2 driver,
stuck behind the second Red Bull.
Yeah.
But then we come to the restart. Hamilton starting in second. Very smoky brakes.
Unbelievably smoky. It was like the car was on fire at one point.
And accidentally caught the infamous Mercedes magic button and shot off into the distance the wrong way.
Not ideal.
Yeah, the brake magic, which is a lever that helps to warm up the brakes during a warm-up lap, formation lap, but you can't put full pressure in, so you're not supposed to really have it on at any time when you're driving. So
I suppose it was magic. One tap of the brakes and his chance of winning the Grand Prix disappeared.
I mean, for those that haven't seen it, Autosport have done an explanation of what the brake magic does, and basically it pumps 90% brake balance into the front wheels, which is about 35 to 40% more than normal, and also prevents the MG UK from recovering energy, which is the kinetic energy storage that the brakes generate.
Which means you basically got no back brakes either, I believe.
None whatsoever, and it puts all the temperature from the brakes rather than into the MGUH into the MG UK, sorry, into the front tyres, so it overheats them. And of course, overheated tyres are more prone to locking than cold tyres.
So what's the benefit of it? Is this for warm up?
It's tyre warming.
Because it doesn't sound very magic at this point. It sounds like a hassle.
Yeah, it's tyre warming on the formation lap.
Fair enough.
Because you're not likely to need to brake.
It makes you wonder whether they've gone more aggressive with the magic button this year because they've had the DAS taken off them.
Possible.
Yeah, because that was purely there for getting heat in the tyres, mainly under slow speed behind a safety car or a formation lap.
Yeah,
and
it looks necessary now. You can see there's something missing from just the team in general. And they're struggling with tyre warm up again all of a sudden. So I know they talk the DAS system down, but clearly all that time and research went into something because they've really deemed it necessary.
Yeah, if the tyres aren't getting heated up during slow laps, then I wonder, was it like a last gasp attempt at doing something to make it work?
Maybe.
And it certainly seems like it. So basically what happened is Lewis turned off the brake magic on the grid and then accidentally hit the button which is on the back of the steering wheel, trying to get out of Perez's way on the restart, and cooked the brakes and cooked the tyres. And did a good job down the access road.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the only saving grace for him, really, wasn't it? That he didn't plough into anyone and sort of just went off by himself and had his own little trip around Baku.
And then, before you know it, 15th. Just to say it again, behind both Hasses.
Well, I think he actually crossed the line 16th because Latifi wasn't able to take his penalty.
Yeah.
I don't that makes it worse.
He only got 15th because of shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Toto is a little bit pissed off, to say the least. Apparently, their form was unacceptable.
I would argue that the form of Lewis Hamilton up to that point wasn't unacceptable, but it's unacceptable to make that kind of mistake. Valtteri Bottas has had a couple of bad races now, and if he doesn't improve, then that does become form, and that kind of form will see you out of that seat very quickly.
Because, yeah, I mean, you've got to wonder where he would have finished in Monaco if they'd have been able to get the tyre off.
And also, yeah, but
and I don't think
races before that as well.
Yeah, I don't think it would have been a pleasant finish. No jokes about happy endings.
Oh dear.
I was just getting in there before Lee did. But, he wasn't doing great in Monaco before the tyre got stuck.
Well, neither was Lewis Hamilton, but Monaco is Monaco. Yeah, it's... Mercedes...
He'll be back
They're
in a second.
famed for not making very many mistakes, because when they do make a mistake, you sort of point at them and go, oh, they made a mistake. But then, they're making a lot of mistakes lately. This isn't something that's very Mercedes at all. And it does need to be ironed out before it becomes something that happens every weekend.
I think the other issue they've got as well is the fact that I know that maybe people, I suppose most people, especially people listening to this podcast, would realise it, but just in case, although you had Monaco where Mercedes didn't do particularly well, which is a street circuit, and then you go to Baku, which is a street circuit, and Mercedes are struggling a little bit there. People need to realise that they're two massively different circuits. They're both street circuits, but it's you went there expecting. Well, I went there expecting Mercedes to be the team to beat. And I think Red Bull went there expecting Mercedes to be the team to beat as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've got a massive long straight, which really plays into Mercedes' hands.
Yeah, and it's not like that. That's the thing. I mean, I know the like Red Bull have always sort of edged more towards aero than out and out engine performance. But let's not be daft here that the Mercedes is a good car. Or we're used to seeing, the Mercedes be a good car aero wise. It's been like the total package all over as far as a car goes. So I wouldn't have even thought that if the Red Bull was particularly good around the twisty bit, if everything was equal as we'd expect it, I wouldn't have thought that they'd have been that much ahead to make up for the lack of power down the straights as well. So you are starting to wonder whether is there something fundamentally wrong with the Mercedes.
I mean, we were saying the other week, we're comparing this to the what was it, 2017, the Diva.
Yeah, I think it was.
And Chris, it was you that said sort of it only took them, sort of a couple of slight tweaks. That's where we're getting wrong. Now we can get more out of it. They've not found that yet. They're not.
No, they have. There was, if you go back to the last race where they were on a classic circuit, if you will, Spain, they did pretty well there. They also did pretty well in Portugal as well. I don't know what it is about street circuits. Maybe it's just 2 races in a row where they just didn't get it together. But the fact of the matter is, Red Bull pretty much did get it together, and that's put a huge dent in their championship hopes. Hence why we're talking about them now with every other team in front of them apart from Williams and Haas.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with them next time in France. Just by nature of the circuit being a test track, specifically designed for extracting the expected performance out of the car.
Yeah, France and then 2 Austrias, and then what's after that?
Britain?
Silverstone?
Yeah, it will be, won't it?
So, the next few races should, by the time we get to Silverstone, they should tell us a bit more about what to expect from the rest of the season. I mean, we'll talk about perhaps no more street circuits, but we'll speak about that in a bit.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget though, Hungary is fairly similar to Monaco.
It's always a good Red Bull track, Hungary.
They say Monaco is Hungary without with the walls. Or is it the other way around?
Other way around. Hungary's Monaco without the barriers.
No, I prefer mine.
Hungary's Monaco without the money.
Don't bet on it. It's just hidden and more secret. Moving on. Alfa Romeo. Kimi getting his first points of the season in 10th. Good. About bloody time. And
yeah, no, it's good. It's good to see.
Yeah, and for once outperforming Giovinazzi.
Giovinazzi scored a point in Monaco, didn't he, I think?
Yeah.
And then they've returned the favour. It was 10th and 11th in Monaco, and they've just swapped positions. Raikkonen getting a point and Giovinazzi finishing 11th.
Didn't really see a great deal of him during the race. It was the anonymous Sauber syndrome again.
Well, Raikkonen was a bit aggressive, was he not, on Giovinazzi at the restart for the final 2, hence why he got ahead, I think. I think he was a bit punchy going into turn 3, maybe? Turn 2, turn 3.
Nice.
Got to admit, I didn't actually notice that.
Other stuff was probably happening at that point.
I was going to say, there was everything going on at the restart, so... But, Chris, obviously, with you being the Alfa Romeo fan that you are, you would be watching out for it more.
Not really, no. Yeah, just I think I saw Raikkonen putting a move on Giovinazzi into one of the turns and thought, oh, that's interesting. Teammates having a go at each other. Just after, I think it was just around the same time the Haas decided to have a bit of a bump.
But, I mean, all you can say about Alfa on this one is, and again, we're talking sort of Haas-Williams territory here, they did what was expected of them, which is back end of the points when there's faster cars dropped out.
Yeah, they've got to take advantage of what comes their way, and they have done. They've scored points in 2 races in a row now. Williams haven't scored. Haas haven't scored. So, it puts the onus on those 2 back teams to really up their game a little more, and we know that Haas aren't going to, so...
I mean, as far as point-scoring positions go over the last 2 races, Mercedes have had 1 point-scoring finish, and Alfa Romeo have had 2.
Yeah, and both their cars finished ahead of both.
We're going to have to get you new internet, Chris. Or some. Or was he actually gone this time?
One whole internet.
No, I'm still here.
There he is.
Right, where are we now? We are Alpine. Bit of an unfortunate one for Ocon. I think, what was it, 5 laps, 6 laps?
Something like that, yeah.
Something ridiculously early, and it looks like it was a problem caused by a crash on Saturday.
Oh, was it? I thought it was brakes.
No, they were tracing it back to something that happened on Saturday when he had an off. I think everyone had an off on Saturday at some point, didn't they? So yeah, he gets pulled in. So I think he lost drive at one point as well.
There was a little puff of something at the back of the car, wasn't there?
Yeah, and
Wasn't it gearbox? Didn't his gearbox go just as he came out onto the straight?
It was rattling, wasn't it?
It could have been. I remember Ted saying it sounded like a bag of rusty nails. But yeah, the thing at the time, I've not seen any confirmation on this one yet, but they thought it was something to do with Saturday. And I mean, up until Stroll, we thought it was going to be the only retirement.
Yeah, we got a good way in, didn't we? Before the action started,
and then it all kicked off. But Fernando in the top 6.
Yeah, brilliant after the restart, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he was
he was. Yeah.
I mean, what was it? 10th? Was it 10th he started in?
I think it might have been. Yeah.
And yeah, he was just passing cars for fun.
He's quite good at Baku, though, isn't he, Alonso? Remembering, I know we mentioned it last week, his 2-wheeled McLaren escapade and still finishing in the points. And then,
he thinks he could have won that race, doesn't he?
Does he not think he could win them all, though?
Yeah, probably. But when you think of how far back he was and like the problems he had.
Hang on, he thinks he could have won the race for what, sorry? For the Max accident?
No, McLaren's, his 2-wheeled McLaren.
That one.
Race.
He thinks he could have won that race.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I can do the Nordschleife in 10 minutes in a van.
Well, no, don't forget, you had who won that race?
Was that 2017?
Was that Massa? Did Massa win and Stroll was third?
It was Ricciardo.
Ricciardo won it. Bottas second, Stroll third.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's the one that Alonso reckons he had the car to win the race if they hadn't have had the accident at the beginning.
I mean, it was a wild race, wasn't it? In fairness, anyone could have won that race.
And where did Alonso finish in that one? 9th. A minute down. I mean, in fairness to him, he started 56th on the grid.
Christ. I mean, you could argue many people could have won that race. Vettel could have won that race if he hadn't got massive road rage. Hamilton could have won that race if his headrest hadn't come out. Stroll could have won that race if he hadn't been overtaken by Bottas.
I think that just leaves Ocon. Yeah, Magnussen was 7th in that one.
Christ.
But on this one, yeah, Alonso's definitely getting to grips with the car now. It seems to be that he's, I don't know, he's moulding it round him, or he's managing to find a style that suits the car.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a little while anyway after a couple of years out to get back into it. But, round 6 he's got this year and he's got next year as well. Alpine is a bit hit and miss, really, isn't it? Some circuits it looks amazing, some circuits they look well off the pace. We'll see what it's like when we get back to, I say classic circuits, but you know what I mean. The built for racing circuits rather than shut that road and get racing.
Yeah. But I mean, his performance over the last couple of races is, there's definitely signs that it's not the broken Alonso we saw at the end of his McLaren.
No, there's a bit of a, not rejuvenation, but there's a bit of a fight there with him now. Is this his best finish, isn't it, since he's come back?
Yes.
6th place.
Yeah, he's had 3 points finishes. At Imola, he was 10th, Portugal 8th, and he got 6th here.
Yeah, I think it could be a good springboard for him to, because I know he's desperate to overturn Ocon, who's had the better of him over the results. Maybe this is a springboard he needs.
Well, thanks to the retirement, he's now just past Ocon in the championship. He's on 13 points, and Ocon's on 12.
You've got to finish first, haven't you? Let's be honest.
Yeah, that is true. Although Vettel's overtaken both of them. But yeah, I mean, Alpine, they always promise so much. Well, all right, Enstone. They always promise so much, and end up not quite delivering.
Mm. It's just going to be a case of seeing what these teams do when the new rules come around, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we were saying this all the way through 2019 that 2020 was going to be sort of flying a holding pattern of a year, and then obviously with the delay, this year everything's completely in flux. And Lee, you said all along that the only reason that Alonso's come back is for next year's cars.
Yeah. It's on the off chance he can get like a good car.
It must be.
So yeah, I mean, if him and the team can actually take this as a springboard, they should be ahead of AlphaTauri in the standings.
I'd think so.
Their place is battling with at the moment McLaren and Ferrari, and Aston Martin. AlphaTauri being very much the outliers.
Well, I think Aston Martin and Alpine have been the underperformers of the year, haven't they?
Oh, by a long way. By a long way.
We expect Williams and Haas to have a problem. AlphaTauri are probably a bit closer at certain tracks to the top of the midfield than we thought they would be. Ferrari and McLaren probably where we thought they'd be. I thought Ferrari would be a bit further back than they are. They've fixed a few problems, haven't they? Somebody probably needs to check that fuel flow meter. But they just, especially Aston Martin. When you looked at where that car was last year to where it is this year, no wonder Vettel was a bit upset.
Yeah, I mean, somebody ought to point out to him, and again, this is going back to what we've said for years, back to the Force India days, that team is always better in the second half of the season.
Yeah, they always are, yeah.
I mean, going right back to Jordan, the Silverstone team gets better in the second half. You can't really say anything for the Spiker and Midland years because there was no money and there was nobody interested in running it, and I think most of the staff that signed up through sort of "I'm available to help out" cards in supermarket notice boards.
Yeah, when Frentzen was driving for Jordan, and they had a really good first half of the season, it was just like, I wonder what they're going to do in the second half, because they usually pick it up after the summer break, and they really did.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, that was when it was still in with the possibility of Drivers and Constructors Championships with a couple of races left.
That's right.
About 3 races to go, and it's like, shit. This isn't the Jordan that we know and have bants with.
Was that 99?
Would it have been 99? It was either
when Schumacher broke his leg.
Yeah, would have been. In that case, don't remember the Jordan drivers, but I remember Schumacher on crutches.
Remember Schumacher having to jump off of a 4-foot high concrete wall like 6 weeks after he'd broken his leg to prove his fitness.
That was
like, fuck that.
That was the Sid Watkins test. I remember. Who was the absolute nobody that was alongside Villeneuve in BAR? Ricardo Zonta. He broke his leg, and Sid Watkins made him do that as well for a comeback.
Imagine the trouble Sid Watkins would have been in if someone did it and re-broke their leg.
Well, I think it was
not fit enough to race.
I think it was kind of a test. If you think you're fit enough to race, you think you're going to be fit enough to jump off this wall.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it covers the whole "do no harm" motto of a doctor, does it?
It might. Yeah, it might. These days, they might maybe go with something slightly more scientific.
Yeah, maybe an ultrasound instead.
And this might be why. Yeah, maybe this is where the extraction test comes from.
Yeah,
I mean, X-rays have been around a long time, man. You know,
walls have been around longer.
That's fucking true. I stand completely corrected.
I mean, are you being corrected? Did you contradict that walls had been around longer than X-rays?
No, but I foolishly suggested that maybe some sort of science would be better than making somebody just jump off a wall. But as Paul's just proven, jumping off a wall can be science as well.
On to the most scientific team possible, then, McLaren. Lee, you were talking about Danny Rick before we started. I think that is definitely one for you to share.
Second worst performance of the weekend, and I'm not going to start Danny Rick bashing because I like Danny Rick and I want him to do well. Don't want him to do as well as Lando, but I'd like him to be closer. But he's essentially doing the same thing as Bottas is doing. He's consistently behind his teammate, hemorrhaging points to their closest rivals, i.e. Ferrari. And the top and bottom is you had Alonso did a great race, Vettel did a great race. Sainz has been on form this year anyway, so he's getting his head around Ferrari. We don't need to worry about Sainz. He just locked up and went down a access road, didn't he? And Perez won a race.
Still finished ahead of Daniel Ricciardo.
Yes, still finished ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. Perez finished a race. Won a race. And that means the guys were like, we've constantly said on this podcast this year that the guys changing teams, and in Alonso's case coming back, have had a tough job to do with the lack of testing. But they all seem to be in the same, getting their heads together now. And Ricciardo is still in the same place as he was in the first race of the year.
Well, 2 places behind, actually, because he came 7th in Bahrain.
No, but a distance to Lando.
Yeah. No, worse. He was 3 places behind Lando in Bahrain.
I think Lee is talking figuratively rather than getting his ruler out.
I'm going for the scientific method here.
You go jump off a wall then. But he's in real bother, and you've got to think that there has to be a point where they start looking at Daniel Ricciardo and going, "Come on, man! You know, we've paid you lots of money to come here and be our lead driver, and not only are you not a lead driver, our rookie driver is clearly the number one in this team now." And we've now lengthened his contract to a multi-year deal, so we're invested in him as well. So, what do McLaren do? If he does this all year, what would you think if you were McLaren? If you were Seidel?
I think you've got to look at his first year at Renault because it took him ages to get used to the car, and he wasn't particularly spectacular in his first year and then improved in the second. You know, it took him till the end of his second season to get towards the end of the second season to get the podium that he'd been promising.
Yeah, but it took him most of that first season to get used to the car.
You know, maybe he's just not good at hitting the ground running in a new car, and he got lucky at Red Bull. I mean, don't forget. In his first race, there was no possible way of getting used to the car because it was a fucking HRT.
Yeah.
At Silverstone.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that he can't do it, but there's something. Maybe it's what I used to say about other drivers. Like maybe the way the formula's gone, it's just been slowly edging away from Ricciardo, Whereas certain things happening. I mean, even in Lando's situation, when you look at the performances Lando's been putting in, which have been pretty standout, I think, this year compared to even the best in F1. I think he's up there as far as a name for who's having a good season.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But even he said, "Look, I'm not happy with this car. Like, there's it reacts in strange ways, and there's things I would love to change with it, but I've just got to get on with it." So if he's saying, it's not like he's coming out going, "Oh, the car's amazing, it fits me perfectly." He's saying that there's issues with the car, but he's still performing.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of got the advantage because it's an evolution of last year's car, and he drove that last season.
Yep.
Danny didn't. I'm not doing this big sort of defence on Danny because, yeah, all right, he is struggling. Out of the drivers that changed teams, has only Alonso scored less than him. So technically, out of all the driver changes, not including rookies and comebacks, yeah, he is the furthest down.
I mean, what I would argue with that as well is, he's. I don't know where we put Ferrari at the minute. That's the only issue, because it looked at one point it looked like McLaren were definitely the third best car on the grid. Now Ferrari seems to have had a resurgence, but my argument would be that for the majority of this year so far, Daniel Ricciardo has had the third best car on the grid for the majority of the season.
That would be a valid argument.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, because, I mean, Ferrari haven't got a podium yet. McLaren have got 2.
Yeah, they have. Sainz scored a podium in Monaco.
Yes, he did.
Yes. Sorry. Ferrari. Colourblind. I'm on Wikipedia. Yeah, Ferrari got 1 podium to McLaren's 2. And, while McLaren aren't fast enough to get 2 cars on the podium, they've managed it more than Ferrari, managed to get 1 more than Ferrari has. But it's still, there's one McLaren matching a Ferrari every time. Because Ferrari seem to do the sort of binary thing of when one driver has a good race, the other one doesn't.
Yeah, but don't forget as well, Charles Leclerc's doing his very binary thing of 6th or 4th.
Or nowhere.
Or DNS is a DNS, isn't it?
Yeah.
But 6-4, 6-4, DNS. 4, so you would have finished 6th in Monaco. So put your money on Charles Leclerc to finish 6th in France.
Sounds about right.
So, they might. Ferrari may have only had 1 podium to the McLaren's 2, but Charles Leclerc's had quite a few consistent 4th place finishes.
And Lando seems to follow up a podium with follow up a 3rd place with a 5th.
Yes.
So he's so if he carries on that sequence of 3-5-8, he's due an 8th in France. So Danny has to pick things up again.
Yeah, but let's not go too deep into sequences.
No, true. On the other side of the garage, Lando with a 5th. He was on it quite a lot this weekend.
Looked like he could have got the podium on the last lap when Leclerc caught Gasly.
Yeah, because he was hanging around just far enough behind him to take advantage if there was too much defending going on and Leclerc took the wrong line.
Yeah, I mean, at one point he looked like he was going for it, and I think just thought better of it.
Yeah, three wide around that long right-hander before the main straight is not
It would have been bold.
Yeah. But, another solid performance from him.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think...
Lisa Paul is probably, driver-wise, he's probably the driver who's having the best season.
Yeah. I think we'll see his first win this year.
I think he'll need some shenanigans.
Yeah.
But I think it's certainly possible.
Well,
Who's first win? Sorry.
Lando.
Sorry, I was miles away then. Yeah, I think Flood's right. I think it'll take shenanigans.
It'll take shenanigans because technically he'll be in the 5th fastest car. After the two Red Bulls and the 2 Mercedes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I still think Hamilton and Verstappen will take each other out at some point. That would be prime Lando territory for looking at that. So long as he's in the right place to capitalize, that's where it is. Well, yes, you can have skill. Yes, you could be having a great season or even a great race. But if you're not in the right place at the right time, the cards aren't going to fall for you.
Actually, saying that, I'm going to go against what I just said and agree with Paul, because I was saying just before we started this podcast, if he hadn't have been demoted, and hadn't been involved in any of the subsequent shenanigans that went on, he could have very well have had the opportunity to win that Grand Prix.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean the three-place grid drop was that kind of had the potential to completely screw over his weekend. What do you think?
He just seems to be dead good, doesn't he? He seems to be dead good at getting his head back together with things. Because do you know what I think was unfair about that penalty?
I was going to say, what do we all think to how fair it was?
Well, rules are rules.
Rules are rules, but I don't think he had significant time to go into the pits. What I do think is bad is the 3 penalty points he's got on his license.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Giving him a grid drop, it's fine, but part of the argument is that he sped up as he was going. When he realised he couldn't pit, he then accelerated further.
But they didn't make any. They didn't bring that into sort of thought, did they? It was literally just the not going straight into the pit lane was why he got it. Because realistically, I know it looked like he was speeding up, but he was trying to slow down to see for an answer for what the team wanted him to do. And I don't think it was like as soon as he'd gone past the pit lane, he sped up again. It was just the fact he wasn't slowing down.
No, when he missed the pit exit, when he definitely missed it, then he did speed up quite a bit.
Ah, right, okay.
Before turn 1.
But again, it's not what they were looking at anyway. But it feels that felt harsh, that penalty.
Yeah, it feels like it would be unsafe to have someone barreling into what is quite a tight pit lane entry when they're going too fast and ill-prepared.
Yeah, and if he'd have, let's just say that he'd have gone in, and he'd have gone harsh, lost it.
But some penalties are harsh.
The pit lane. But imagine if he crashed and blocked the pit lane when the rest of the field wanted to get back in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but they've given penalties to everybody else who couldn't get in.
I think McLaren need me to represent them.
I didn't notice who was the driver steward this week.
Oh, I can't remember, but that is easily looked up. I'll get back to you in a minute.
I was going to say, while you're...
I was so happy how happy Sean was there to be given a task which is easy to get like a win out of.
Yes, things that are easy, that's what we like.
Right, Ferrari. Lee's favourite driver in 4th and Lee's favourite haircut in 8th.
Yeah.
Come on, you tweeted positive things about Charles Leclerc at some points.
Yeah, and to be fair, he only finished where he did because of shenanigans, and he was shit during the race.
Decent quali though.
He nailed quali. Well, he didn't nail quali.
If I can just interject, Enrique Bernaldi. He's the driver. Driver steward.
I just looked at the list of stewards and had no idea which one was a driver.
Yeah, Enrique Bernaldi. I've heard of him.
He was a Lotus driver or LaRousse in the early 90s, possibly.
I missed him, I'm afraid.
Let me do a quick Google whilst Lee explains his Leclerc hate again.
Right. Hear me out. I'm just saying he got a lucky pole because he got the perfect slipstream, which gave him bags of speed down the pit lane. It wasn't like great Ferrari planning or didn't Leclerc do a good job. He just happened to be the ideal distance from Lewis Hamilton when Lewis was starting his lap. So he got pole. That's fine. Do what you do. But he didn't look capable of finishing anything above 8th during the race, 8th, 7th, something like that, because he just went backwards, and that's not his fault. That's the car's fault. But it was. I don't think there was any. I don't think there's any call to applaud Charles Leclerc for a great drive. He just capitalised from other people's misfortunes and landed where he landed.
Did he ever look like finishing 8th? I don't think he ever really dropped below 4th, did he?
I thought he dropped 7th.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure he dropped 7th.
Yeah, Enrique Bernoldi, sorry, I got it totally wrong. Must be getting confused with somebody else. He was a Formula One driver for Arrows in 2001 and 2002, and he was back as a test driver for BAR and then Honda from 2004 to 2006.
Clearly very memorable all round.
I recognise the name, but got it completely confused with somebody else.
I was going to say, I seem to recall seeing him on a PlayStation game, but that was about it. Hang on, let's have a look at the lap chart. Leclerc. Lowest he was, I think he was 9th during the pit stops while they were working out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you do drop back when you pit, that's fair enough.
And then sort of roundabout, 7th, 6th, 4th. Actually got up to 3rd and did get ahead of Gasly at one point.
I think it was like for 2 corners or something, wasn't it? I don't think it was a significant move.
Yeah, Gasly fought back and took the place back.
Yes.
And that was on the penultimate lap. It's Ferrari though. I'm never sure what to make of them since fuel flow gate.
I think they're just slowly coming back, aren't they? They're slowly finding their feet again. They don't want to put too much maybe into this year because they're one of the teams that really needs to throw everything at next year. They haven't got an awful lot to lose, but a little bit of face to save this year.
So, I did see somebody making a joke that they got up to 88 miles an hour on the straight and their engine went back to 2019.
They must have strategized Sainz quite well. I don't particularly remember seeing his recovery through the field, but because he dropped right down the order after the issue early on.
He dropped down to 16th.
Maybe that's just what happens when Ferrari forget about you and leave you to yourself.
when they don't get involved and mess it up for you.
It's just like, just tell us when you need new tyres, Carlos. Like, sick, I'm on it. That's it.
Because he had quite a decent qualifying as well. Because he started 5th and then lost 11 places on lap 10.
It was an interesting reversing manoeuvre, though. I thought he was going to get a penalty for reversing onto the racetrack, but I mean,
I thought he was going to get a penalty for nearly reversing into a Haas.
But there was no real safe way to rejoin the circuit, I guess. So he sort of got away with it, other than doing the Ranganathan 18-point turn.
Yeah, no one wants to do that.
No, it would appear there was some quality getting out of the escape roads this weekend. We didn't get another Ranganathan performance, which is a shame because I was wanting Deleda to do it in F2. We're talking about Mazepin being 8 seconds a lap off the pace. I think at one point in the F2 race, Deleda was even more.
Oh, he is shocking.
I think he was about 11 seconds off the pace during the feature race on Sunday.
Per lap?
Yes.
That's
awesome.
I mean,
that's dangerous, man. You shouldn't be allowed to race.
At Monaco, he was actually slower than the Euro Formula Open pole sitter.
God, Jesus Christ.
Wow. That's amazing. Get him in a Haas.
It may be too quick for him.
Don't know, we've seen his motorway driving video where he was weaving in and out of the traffic, Deleda.
Yeah, maybe he's better suited to GTs.
What motorway video?
Yeah, he did a video of himself when he was in F3 where he's driving along a motorway at about 150 miles an hour, weaving across many a lane while filming himself.
Oh, World Endurance
was
Championship
that in a black
then.
Ferrari?
Can't remember.
Is that...
Couldn't see what colour it was because it was inside the cockpit because he was driving it at night.
It was like in the last year or so.
Oh right, no, it was a different one because I remember seeing somebody do that in a Ferrari. Oh no, I have seen that one. If it was at night, I'm sure I have. Because I remember seeing that going, fuck, that's dangerous. Then I thought, that guy can fucking drive.
Turns out if he's in a race car, not so much.
No.
Right, where are we next? AlphaTauri.
Yeah, good day at the office.
Yeah, Gasly on the podium again. Tsunoda didn't screw things up on Sunday.
No, Tsunoda,
on
Tsunoda
Sunday.
did all right. Yeah, he's done all right, Yuki Tsunoda. Gasly needs a bigger team, though, doesn't he? Wonder where he could find a seat, in a team that might be able to consistently score podiums.
Well, I thought before, actually, when I was trying to work out what you would do with a problem like Daniel Ricciardo, if you had the choice right now between Daniel Ricciardo and Pierre Gasly, I think you'd pick Pierre Gasly.
Yeah, based on the last year and a half, you would go for Pierre Gasly, I think.
Yeah. Because there seems to be some fucking legs to his performance, and like the age of him and stuff like that.
And his mental strength to come back from what was an awful career blow, let's be honest.
Yeah, he looks like he's going to be like the Will Young of Formula One, of the Red Bull program. He's going to be able to escape the initial problem of being part of their team.
I was wondering which way that one was going. Is Will Young still famous?
He's not long done another album, yeah.
Yeah, he's a thing.
I remember him being a thing. I just didn't realise he was still a thing.
No, I think he's quite sort of Radio 2 Mother's Day, but he's still doing his thing.
One of those people who didn't win the competition that he entered, and yet...
No, he did.
He did win it.
He beat Gareth Gates.
The person who did win. Yes, correct.
No, Will Young won. He beat Lispy Man.
He did.
Did he? I thought Gareth Gates won.
No, everyone thought Gareth Gates was going to win, and then, Will Young did.
Okay, fair enough. In which case I stand correct.
Then he started his speech impediment out and lost all his charm. But, he looks like someone that needs to be up there in like the upper midfield.
Are we back onto Gasly now?
Yeah,
not pop idols.
Get out Gates.
I was going to say I can't see Will Young driving a Red Bull somehow.
No,
might be a little too exciting for him. But yeah, I mean the resurgence of
I suppose. I suppose Will Young and Formula One have the same problem at the moment. They struggle to get a young audience, and day by day have a shrinking viewer base.
Their appeal is becoming more selective. I'm quoting Spinal Tap on that one. But the resurgence of Gasly continues unabated, and the mental strength after basically having the rug pulled from under him. With all the pressure that the Red Bull drive came with to begin with, and he's bouncing back like Alan Partridge.
And don't forget as well, last year he, presumably having won in Italy while Albon was looking a bit shaky, thought he might get that drive again, and they went and got someone from completely outside the programme, which was probably also another blow.
Yeah. I mean that can't have helped.
No.
I mean, where do you see him going? Because
McLaren.
Because I've been convinced that he's going to end up at Renault to replace Ocon, but Ocon's actually doing the business this season.
It's not just that. I think he's doing a good enough job to warrant being able to pick his team a little bit better than just being thrown a Renault drive. And
I don't think we can forget you. There's going to be two major seats available at Mercedes. It's who fills that second seat might free up a seat elsewhere.
And there might even be two seats available at Mercedes if Lewis decides to retire. And then you've got the other intangible with that is Lewis trying to dodge George Russell? The rumours were that he wanted a 3-year contract with more money, and he didn't want George Russell as a teammate for the time he was in the team.
No, I didn't hear specifically George Russell. I just heard veto over teammates.
I thought
it was worded to suggest that one of the people that
It
he
was
holds the
heavily
veto
weighted.
over was Russell, but
Yeah.
it didn't actually
Well,
say it outright.
Well, when you consider that the Mercedes turned around and said, we're probably going to put George Russell in a Mercedes, and all of a sudden Lewis wants the call on his teammate.
Something which he
then
has
you would
said before he
suggest-
doesn't want. He's always said previously, hasn't he? Like, oh no, I don't have a veto.
Yeah,
he does.
See, I don't believe. Yeah, it's not knocking Lewis's talent or anything like that. Before people start shouting at me, but I think the joy Hamilton gets from competition may be vastly exaggerated by himself.
He
Do you know
gets
what I
joy
mean?
from winning, and I know what
Yeah.
you mean. Remember how frustrated he was when he wasn't winning in 2011.
You mean when he
2012.
actually had competition?
Yeah, he enjoys competition apparently until it actually happens.
Likes to be number one in a field of one.
Yeah, pretty much. But he could well retire at the end of this year, and if he does, Mercedes are going to have 2 seats to fill if we, believe Bottas is probably on his way out. Mm-hmm. So they may bring up Esteban Ocon. Don't forget that he is, still not. He's not tied to Mercedes, but he's got that history with Mercedes. He was in the young driver program.
Isn't he still? He's still officially on loan at Alpine.
Is he still
For
on
this
loan?
year, both Ocon and George Russell are out of Mercedes' contract at the end of this year.
So, it's not beyond the realms of possibility. I'm not saying that it's going to happen. It's not like a tangible suggestion that, oh, wow, look at that midsummer, season break contract announcement. It's Russell and Ocon in Mercedes. Absolutely not. But it's not beyond the realms of possibility that it could happen that Mercedes find 2 seats that they have to fill. And they probably would look at say, Russell and, the other seat, probably Ocon.
Officially, Ocon is
Gasly as well.
not part of the junior team. However, he is managed by Toto Wolff.
And so is half the grid.
Yeah, he's yeah.
I mean, if there are 2 seats at Mercedes, Russell and Gasly.
You've got to say that, especially for this year, because we really think. When you've got someone like Toto Wolff, which is managing Bottas's time was probably up at Mercedes last year. So having a team boss, which also managed drivers, is clearly a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, 100%. And I'm
glad we're all settled. This has been my TED talk.
Yeah, I don't see how that can work in anyone's favour, except purely for Toto. Except for Toto, because as a manager, he gets a cut of whatever deal he negotiates for his driver in his own team.
I think it's worked out well for Bottas as well.
I mean, it's kept him in a race-winning car.
Yeah,
and Bottas is going to run out of lives at some point because he's into his 5th season on a 1-year deal. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21.
Christ.
Yeah, this is his 5th 1-year contract with Mercedes.
Am I the only one that's sick of hearing Bottas's things of, oh, this is what I do to keep myself motivated, and I have like a negative image on my laptop screensaver, so every time I open my computer I think, and that makes me drive hard, and people don't know what I'm capable of.
I have not heard about the screensaver.
Yeah, apparently so. Apparently he won't say what it is, but he's got a negative image.
I'm going to go with him in a gravel trap somewhere.
Oh, I just thought when he said he'd got a negative image, he'd just got like a negative of him in the car.
No. It's is it all of Mercedes have? I think it's a Mercedes thing. They put images of their rivals doing well. So like the engineers have pictures of Red Bull winning races on their desktops to push them harder to make sure that doesn't happen again.
It's good to see Mercedes isn't some sort of cult. Huh?
Yeah,
it's not like half the engine stuff have left for. Oh wait,
yeah. Lee, what is it with your WTF1 wallpaper then?
It just motivates me.
Lee hates his screen so much
That he buys a new computer every 6 months.
Well, he has to because he smashed his screensaver.
That's why I bought a Mac Mini instead of using MacBooks, because I can just buy cheap monitors.
All right, on to the enigma that is Yuki Tsunoda.
Good performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, bundled into a sack and taken to the AlphaTauri factory, where he was sent go-karting.
It's done the job, it
Worked
seems.
for him.
Maybe I should...
Kidnap me and move me to Italy, see if I perform any better.
Well, apparently he can go from practically last to 7th. He's very passionate over the radio.
I like it.
Good. I do. I'm with Sean on that, totally. I would much rather hear a Yuki Tsunoda than a Kimi Raikkonen over the radio.
I don't know, the 4 watt is still pretty good.
Yeah, Kimi does come up with some absolute gold at times, but 90%, the reason you don't hear Kimi a lot of the time is because what he says is totally boring. Whereas everything Yuki Tsunoda says is pretty interesting.
And very sweary. His English swearing is fluent as you like. It is very good.
Was he one of the drivers that Sky had to apologise for post-race this time?
Probably.
Right, okay.
They definitely had to apologise for Charles Leclerc
wanted to go to
post-quali.
Mercedes.
You want Tsunoda in a Mercedes?
Absolutely. Can you imagine how funny it would be seeing Toto Wolff stood next to Yuki Tsunoda?
That would... He would barely come up to his waist.
Godzilla.
It'd be like... It'd be like an outtake from Michael Jackson's Heal the World video.
And there's this week's title. Oh my god, hang on, I'm writing that down before I forget.
Oh, just do a marker on the file, just don't stop it this time.
No.
Don't stop till you get enough.
Hang on, you can hear me typing. Right. That is
And
right.
something creaking.
That was me.
Oh dear.
Oh, right. That just leaves 2 teams to go, and for once, I don't think we can actually do the top 2 teams together because they had completely separate races.
Yes.
Yeah. So Aston Martin, happy Seb on the podium.
Yes.
Actually, happy sounding Seb at the end of Q2, even when he didn't make it to Q3.
I think I said at the time, that's because he has a free choice of tyres and can actually strategize his way up the field on Saturday, and that's exactly what he did.
I was going to say, he did a good job of it.
And it meant he had a set of tyres left for post-red flag.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the most good luck that he's had since Red Bull.
Yeah, probably.
Don't get me wrong, I think on that last lap he was just like, you know what, second is okay, and just sat behind Perez. But it would have been great to see the Seb of Red Bull days just going hell for leather trying to go for that win.
I just don't think he had the car for Seb. For
Perez.
For Checo. Yeah.
I think as well, in fairness to Perez, he bolted.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, it was a great start. 2 great starts, actually. You know, he had a great first start as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think Seb may have got a little bit held up when he saw Lewis sort of spearing across the racing line.
Yeah, I think he was very
Well,
very
he nearly hit
certain.
him.
Yeah, he didn't want to get involved.
I think by that time Checo was away, so...
Yeah, didn't he have to battle Charles Leclerc, and then Charles Leclerc nearly went into the back of Vettel?
I think Vettel sort of manoeuvred.
Restart.
Yeah, I think Vettel had to sort of back off a bit to avoid Hamilton, and that meant Leclerc got very close.
But
and Gasly obviously got involved somehow.
But yeah, no, fantastic for Sebastian Vettel. It's nice to hear him not broken.
Yeah.
I thought this could be his last season in Formula One if he remained broken for the rest of this year. I don't think Aston Martin is the team to be catapulted forward for the rest of the year. I don't think we're going to see many Aston Martin podiums, if any more, to be honest with you. But it's really nice to see that Sebastian Vettel got one race where the opportunity sort of fell towards him, and he was able to take it. I think his last one was at Ferrari, wasn't it? When Leclerc decided to throw away a podium. But just a fantastic performance by Aston Martin all round. Even Stroll was looking quite good until that tyre failed. I think he was running fourth, and he still had to stop, obviously. But
yeah, if someone other than him had brought out the safety car, he'd have had a great day.
Yeah, absolutely. It could have been Stroll's podium quite easily. It could have been a double podium maybe for Aston Martin, but I think I said on our chat group as well, didn't I? A safety car right now would be great for Lance Stroll, and then Lance Stroll crashed. So, really unfortunate for Stroll.
Yeah, I mean, it was a horrific looking crash.
Yeah.
It was, and I know some people have said, oh, he didn't take his hands off the wheel when he was crashing. No good, because he was deliberately trying to steer his very damaged car away from the racing line so as to not collect anyone, as he moved back across the track, which happens quite a lot in IndyCar and, other racing disciplines where the walls are really close to the circuit. You see it quite a lot in Macau as well when there's various disciplines that race there. If somebody bounces off into the circuit, they collect 2 or 3 cars on the way past. Mm-hmm. So Lance Stroll did really, really well, actually, to not cause any more damage than he did. And luckily, him, and of course we've already spoken about Max, both of them were actually fine, despite the fact they had blowouts at extremely high speed and went straight into concrete walls.
I mean, Max was fine enough to take all his aggression out on the tyre.
Yes.
I mean, if that had been in the Euros, the keeper wouldn't have stood a chance. We also got to see Lawrence Stroll showing an almost human side.
Still wearing green trousers, though.
Was he being almost human, or was he just worried about the merchandise? Does he see is that Stroll Jr. as a commodity?
I was going to say, is that what he calls his son now?
Probably.
Hands off of the merchandise.
Do you think when he walked over for his arm round him, it was like the beginning of Drive to Survive, where he walked over his hand on and said, "Look, you've got 5 seconds with me." I'm glad you're alive, son. And then he was off to do broker some deal somewhere.
That's right. It was just like, oh my God, Lance, I'm so glad you're okay. Is everything all right? He's like, yeah. Okay, that's me for the next 5 months.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a
3:30. Sorry.
You've got 5 minutes with me was the start of the bedtime story in the Stroll household every night.
You've got 5 minutes with me was how Lance was conceived.
But yeah, Chris, I think you're right. I don't think we'll see Aston Martin popping up on the podium too often, but with a happy Seb behind the wheel, we'll be seeing more points for him, definitely.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I don't think the car is good enough to be that end of the grid constantly. But hopefully, a more positive outlook for Sebastian Vettel in particular over the next 8 months.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what the second half of the season brings. Like we said earlier, the Silverstone team...
8 months? 5 months.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're not carrying this season until February. Last season was weird enough.
I very much enjoyed as well that Vettel somehow acquired a native hat on his way to the podium.
Yes. He probably just must have yoinked it off someone.
Yeah, because no one else seemed to have one.
He'll probably get a fine for that because it wasn't official podium wearing headgear. Cause...
He had the cap on. He just put the Azerbaijani hat on top. Everything that was meant to be there was there. This was an aftermarket edition.
Yeah, after that sort of hat grab, he'll be angling for a fight with Floyd Mayweather next.
Anybody watch that?
No.
No.
I know you didn't. You were in bed at 10:30 last night. It didn't start till 1. Apparently everyone was booing by the end of it.
Yeah, I don't know what they expected, really.
It was clearly scripted, wasn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, and it's... Let's face it. But I know this isn't a boxing podcast, but I do like a bit of combat sport. Boxing's fucking done.
Get subscribed to DAZN. It's only $1.99 a month now, and you got all the Eddie Hearn stable fighters. I'll send you a link. Send you a link. You get your first month free.
Yeah, but he's part of the battle. When you've got people like Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, and you can't manage to get a fight sorted between two champions, then your sport has a fucking issue.
Yeah, agreed.
And
that is true. I did see Logan Paul described today as one of the best YouTubers in his family.
His brother is also a YouTuber.
I think that was the joke.
His brother is currently calling out Tyson Fury's brother.
God.
I like Logan Paul. I think his podcast's really good. I think he's although he comes across as being a bit dumb and blonde, there's clearly something to him. You don't do the sort of things and create that sort of thing around you without there being something about you.
Possibly a good marketing team. Somebody said he was most famous for tasering dead rats.
Oh, I missed that.
And making a joke at a suicide victim.
The suicide victim is the one I know.
It wasn't a joke. It was one of his YouTube videos. He filmed a video inside the
suicide forest.
They found someone there, didn't they?
Yeah.
There was someone in the back of the video. There was no joke being made. It wasn't like a skit video or anything like that. If anything, I would say it was 95% fucking bedwetter internet being upset about things.
Is that where a punch in the tumbleweed?
I think that may round off the boxing YouTuber section.
That will do for the YouTuber boxing section. Yes, definitely. Red Bull then.
Yeah, mixed day.
Should have been a 1-2. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And as I tweeted, Paul the Rest is saying, I don't want to jinx it, but Max Verstappen, blah. Very next lap, Verstappen in the wall.
Yeah, again, another terrifying tyre failure.
Mm-hmm.
Glad he's okay.
Yeah, that wheel should be out of hospital in the next 2 weeks after the pasting he gave it.
Give it a couple of kicks, didn't he?
Yeah. You can understand the frustration because he had that race.
Totally controlled it.
Yeah, I mean, Red Bull had the measure of every other team on the grid.
Mm-hmm.
And, they were running away with what was looking like a nailed-on 1-2.
It should have been a 1-2.
Yeah, and then for that to happen. But it's good to see that it was looking like a 1-2 for Red Bull, because we've not been able to say that for 3 years. They now have a definite second driver who can drive the car.
Who can win when Verstappen can't.
Who can drive the car behind the first one.
Yeah.
And then capitalise for the team if the first one's not there to do it. And that's, to all intents and purposes, Perez is the number 2 driver there, but that is what the number 2 driver is meant to do.
Plot twist, Checo does a great job this year. Lewis Hamilton retires. Mercedes next year is Perez and
Verstappen.
Verstappen. Wow, that's something. He takes a couple of engineers and a teammate. No, I was gonna say Russell. Yeah, Russell and Perez.
That would be a lively combo, I think.
Well, I think so.
'Cause they're two quite different drivers, but both quite fun.
It'd be a lively combo. I was going to say, it'd be a lively combo in which Perez would still be referred to as the young driver.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is...
The driver wearing the lesser amount of corduroy.
But we said it at the beginning of the season, this is Perez's chance. And don't get me wrong, he's done a good race here, but he's still underperformed in qualifying. And... He's still got room to improve.
With all the red flags, it was hard to perform in qualifying.
No, but he lost his second flying lap, didn't he? That was the problem he had.
Yeah.
But the thing I've got with it is this is where I think Mercedes are in real bother, because obviously, right, this, even for Bottas, this is a fucking bad race. So I don't expect him to be the same come France. But the top and bottom of it is he's Bottas, and Bottas has already found his ceiling. He's already found his talent ceiling. I mean, he's been there now for like a few years. Perez seems to be getting better, and he seems to be getting better in Red Bull. So if he gets better from where he is, and he can only get closer to Verstappen, that's Mercedes are in real trouble.
Now this is a reverse of how we were talking about the Mercedes Red Bull situation up to the start of this season and all the way through last year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because now the team with the two drivers at the front is Red Bull, and Mercedes have only got one car trying to cover off both of them.
Well, I think the big difference has been that I think Bottas has always underperformed given the machineries he's got. Yeah, given the top car he's got, given the team he's in, he's always underperformed. But the difference has been there's only been one overperforming Red Bull driver, and the number 2 driver in Red Bull has underperformed more than Bottas.
And the Red Bull car is better this year as well. So whereas you could underperform
better
in the Mercedes and still be the second best driver on the grid.
Yeah,
it's not good enough this year.
Everything being bunched up, though. You look at where Bottas is in the championship. You can accept him being behind Perez, Verstappen, and Lewis, but he's also behind Leclerc and Lando.
Yeah, that's not great.
Mercedes shouldn't have 6th place in the Drivers' Championship.
No, Mercedes and Red Bull should occupy the top 4 spots in some combo.
Yeah.
But for Bottas to be behind 2 others is pretty shitty.
And only 5 points ahead of another Ferrari.
Yeah. Well, if he was a Red Bull driver, he would be in an AlphaTauri at this point. Being
absolutely.
6th in the Drivers' Championship gets you demoted in Red Bull.
Mm.
And that's the thing, Mercedes have never had anything to worry. They've never had anything to lose, though, so that philosophy could change.
I mean, if we're calling Aston Martin the Mercedes junior team, they're going to do a swap with Vettel.
That would be fun.
I don't think Aston Martin are the junior team. George Russell's in the Williams. Do you know what I mean? It's Mercedes, although they sell bits to Aston Martin, there is no there's no Mercedes investment, is there, within?
Yeah, I think particularly with the Lawrence Stroll, Stroll money, they are now a true customer team. They're not,
except for the Toto money that's in the team.
But again, that's an investment. It's not. It's not like a working partnership. He doesn't really play an active role.
Yeah, and that's a personal thing
that is publicly acknowledged.
Yeah, but that's a personal thing, isn't it? Not rather than a team thing. So. I like his. I think you're right. I think if there's if something goes on, the obvious thing would be like you're going to Williams Valtteri.
Would Williams want him?
Well, not for George Russell. You wouldn't think.
Yeah, would they rather take the money they'd get for like a Jack Aitken, bringing him back?
I mean, Jack Aitken's still part of the programme because he had Williams...
He's in F2.
Yeah, he had Williams logos all over his suit in F2. He's only in F2 till for Silverstone, and then his team are looking for somebody else for the rest of the year.
Yeah, someone ran out of money, so they shoved him in quickly, didn't they?
Yeah.
How do you think it affects you mentally when you put a social media post up saying, I'm stuck in I'm stuck in Finland waiting for my plane because something's gone wrong. Mm-hmm. And all Twitter is alive with is, what's George Russell doing?
Yeah.
Like,
the George Russell GIFs were heavily used, weren't they? It was great entertainment. It can't be good because, I mean, what else do you do when you're stuck in an airport? You just sit and scroll on your phone.
Yeah. Oh,
no.
Absolutely.
Well, no, if you're in an airport in Finland, drink.
Probably not if you've got to be in a race car the next day, though.
I don't even think he's that much of an interesting Finn. If we're honest.
He does vodka and naked saunas, but then again, they all do.
No, he does espressos and porridge.
And that's where it all falls down.
Vodka and naked saunas like Wednesdays. But, and there's something wrong with people fucking doing naked saunaing. Why are people so happy to be like naked with each other? Do you know what I mean? It's weird. It's just plain fucking weird. Stop it.
Should we do rock stars and wankers?
I was gonna say, should we talk? We haven't really sort of talked about Checo.
He just did what he had to do, and then when the opportunity fell to him, he took it and nailed that second restart.
Yeah, and had been defending really, really well against Hamilton a couple of times in the run up to that.
Putting paid to the Danny Ricciardo argument that it takes a while to get used to a car. Checo Perez looked like he'd been in that car for a long time this weekend.
He did.
Yeah, whatever it was, it certainly clicked for him.
And could have been ahead of Verstappen by rights anyway, because he had a shitty pit stop.
Yep, could have been. Could have overcut Verstappen, yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing. We didn't mention the bad Lewis pit stop, having to hold for Gasly.
Yeah, the pit stop was fine, wasn't it? It was just the inconvenient Frenchman that came in behind.
There's always an inconvenient Frenchman when you least expect one.
What a film.
I think it was by Jacques Tati, actually. Monsieur Hulot's inconvenient Frenchman. Right, Rockstars and Wankers.
Rockstar and Wanker for Pirelli. Wanker for like sending two drivers into the barrier, that's not great. But Rockstar for giving us a bit of lively race.
Yeah, I'll take the drivers into the wall. Gave us.
They were fine.
Good thing in the end.
Yeah.
Everyone walked away. I was quite worried about Stroll for a split second because he took a while getting out of that car.
Yeah, I think it was just because there were cars filtering past. I think at that point, your car's not on fire. You might as well stay where you are.
It looked like he was struggling to get the steering wheel off. So I think in the impact, the steering wheel connection had got bent. And
it's quite a tall lad as well, isn't he?
It jammed the wheel on, so they showed an in-car facing him.
Fair enough.
And he looked like he was struggling with the wheel.
I'm going to go for Rockstar for the podium.
To be fair, he's looked like he's been struggling with the wheel for a few years now.
I can't be bothered rigging the kit up for the rim shot. Just take it as read. There's one there. Chris, your Rockstar?
Podium.
The whole thing.
Because all three drivers were drivers who were sacked by their previous team.
And they were all just very, very happy to be there as well. It was a very upbeat podium.
Yeah. Obviously, Perez was sacked by Racing Point in favour of Vettel, who was, let's be honest, sacked by Ferrari, and Gasly's third was sacked by Red Bull. So fantastic. 3 sacked drivers on the podium. Yeah, we'll take that.
I'm putting Mazepin down as a rock star for finishing ahead of Lewis Hamilton in the world's most unlikely passing of the torch moment.
I like it.
In a similar way, I'm going to go for Mick Schumacher for pass of the day against another car that was battling on track and wanted to punt him into the wall, even though it was his teammate.
Well, I mean, let's face it. If he doesn't understand what's happening there, he hasn't watched enough of his dad's stuff.
Wankers. Haas pit crew, except for the guy that noticed.
Yeah, it was a near miss wanker, I think, rather than full wanker.
Mazepin in the wanker category, for even though his teammate had a massively long pit stop to get dragged back into his box and the wheel put back on, still couldn't pass him.
Lewis Hamilton for his mistake. Should have won the race, probably, but didn't.
Yeah, it's the magic button. Press it and watch your chances disappear. More tumbleweed. Any other nominations?
don't think so.
I reckon that might
Have
be
we
it.
done a Bottas wanker? Sorry.
I mean, yeah,
Well,
it goes
no,
without saying.
because we haven't done the participation award yet.
Yeah, it's. I mean that would suggest that if you participate, it suggest that you at least do something.
That's why I'm nominating Bottas for coming second in the Giovinazzi Participation Award with no winner.
Behind Antonio Giovinazzi, who did the Esteban Gutierrez and finished 11th.
Yeah, Bottas, I think, was the ultimate wanker of the weekend, more so than the tyres. I think that was it's just a complete waste of fucking a car. Yeah.
It certainly seemed it. I was looking for my phone. I've left it. I've left it in my jeans. Because I'm having to prepare something.
Or we don't, and we go home.
No, you already are home. Got a couple of sort of little newsy bits as well.
Oh, good lord.
Obviously, the Singapore Grand Prix isn't happening this year now. Third race technically to be cancelled, although Canada and Turkey might have been the same race. The third venue to lose out on a Grand Prix this season, and it looks like at the moment F1 are in negotiations with Austin to have 2 consecutive races there. I think there's better options.
Yeah, I feel like there are more places you could go.
If they're gonna do another one in the States, what's wrong with Indy?
Yeah,
many things, but there are many circuits that they could use in North America. There are also other circuits they could look at in Asia, specifically Sepang, if Singapore is off purely because of the street circuit nature of the event. Why not go to Sepang if the virus is still an issue? Just don't let fans in.
Yeah.
I have as well been jokingly championing...
It's a closed circuit. They are. It's built for racing.
I am jokingly championing the idea of Night Baku.
Mm-hmm.
I've started this campaign on Twitter.
Is it hashtag Night Baku?
I haven't done a hashtag yet. I thought I'd float it as a general idea and then maybe elevate the campaign depending on the level of interest.
Listeners, you know what to do.
Right, hashtag Night Baku is now going to be a thing.
You heard it here first.
Let's get that going. And of course, sad news that came out this weekend about long-time McLaren partner and shareholder and head of TAG Mansour Ojeh. Sadly dying after he's been ill for quite some time. So he had a double lung transplant a few years ago that I didn't know about. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, you were still seeing him on the grid 2 years back. So he appears to have recovered from that. I mean, I
always thought he was a recent sort of shareholder in McLaren until he died.
Same.
I didn't realise it goes back to 1984. So that'd be when Ron Dennis fully invested everything into McLaren. So Mansour Ojeh has been there since Ron Dennis decided to turn McLaren F1 team into this monstrous force that went on to win numerous championships and totally dominated the sport for a couple of years.
Yeah. I mean, he was part of the whole turning McLaren into what they became.
I wonder if we just didn't necessarily notice him as much because Ron Dennis was so prominent.
Yeah,
that it's only more recently that he's come to the fore.
I think that was probably the case, but he was always sort of the silent brains behind the throne, really. Yeah, I think Ron Dennis was the one coming up with the evil ideas, and Ojeh was the one sort of tempering them back and saying, you're not going to have the sharks with lasers jumping through fire, but you can have the fire, the lasers, or the sharks.
Yeah, but for him to only be 68 as well,
Yeah.
Which means he must have invested in McLaren in his early 30s. So,
it was his father that set up the TAG group and negotiated.
It's a hell of a lifetime investment, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
Let's be honest.
and negotiated the purchase of Hoyer watches, which obviously gave us the brand that we know now. And
TAG Heuer.
Yeah, and their investment in Formula One and their position in Formula One has been monumental throughout the years. Right, Lee, you don't have a shunt tonight, do you?
Yep.
What, yep you don't, or yep you do?
Yes, I do. I just found one. If we've got to do one.
Oh, because I was gonna say I've got one.
No, well, I've got one in front of me now.
There we
I think
go.
it's one. I think he has. I don't think we've done this one.
Save yours for another day, Paul.
I'll save mine just in case we've already done this one.
I don't think we have. Maybe we have.
We'll find out.
We'll find out.
Yeah, we have. And this one was sent in on the 16th of the 4th, 21.
Who's it from?
It is from Minton W.
Oh, we called him Chippy last time, and I had to explain why Chippy.
Maybe we have had this one because I thought he looked like a young Alex Albon, didn't we?
Yeah.
Didn't
I do remember you saying someone looked like a young Alex Albon.
Unless he's done it again.
Do we? Well, unless I've deleted it and he's done it again, it's come up as a different chap. We'll try anyway. We'll see. I was born in 1921.
If we've done this one.
I feel like we have done
this one.
Let's do Paul's.
Right. Lee, devices down.
Devices are away.
I've all the devices down.
I've got a cat.
That'll you can probably hear it purring. That is Dizzy purring, by the way. All right. I was born.
Yay.
Yeah.
In 1980.
Okay.
I am more experienced than Brendan Hartley, having been involved with series such as NASCAR, various other non-motorsports, touring cars, and open wheels.
Interesting.
And clue 3, I have won the 24 hours of... Lee, you have to say, because it's not a proper shunt without you saying it. The 24 hours of...
Le Mans?
That'll do. And I would like a guess, please.
Who is 41?
This
a Le Mans winner.
Could be any racing driver, couldn't it?
Pretty much.
Every racing driver seems to do Le Mans at a certain point in their life.
41? Kimi Räikkönen?
Kimi, I think, is slightly older. And I don't know that he's won Le Mans.
Possibly not.
Mark Webber?
Mark Webber is older. And
Is he older than 41?
Yeah. And I don't think won Le Mans. I think he somehow always found himself in the shitty Porsche.
Jenson Button?
Don't think he won Le Mans. I think he had, like, Sergei Sorokin as a teammate. Say no more.
No, yeah. I'd have noticed if he won.
Kazuki Nakajima?
Let's go with Kazuki Nakajima, because he was in with Fernando Alonso.
He was, and I think it would be around
Roughly
the right age.
Yeah.
What about Fernando Alonso?
It's not a bad shout. I don't know that he's done NASCAR-y stuff, or has he?
I don't know. He seems to do everything.
He's done a car swap, hasn't he, with the one that's shit in IndyCar?
Yes.
But not necessarily as a competitor.
No. Kazuki Nakajima, I think, is a good start.
Okay,
going for that for your first guess.
why not?
Okie dokie. Right, clue 4. Before joining my first single-seater racing series at 18, I spent 2 years studying to become a photographer.
This does not sound like Alonso.
No.
Okay. During my first bout of single-seater racing, I raced against the likes of Nico Rosberg, Timo Glock, and Robert Kubica.
See, that sounds like an Alonso.
How old would Nick Heidfeldt's World of Disappointment be?
He might be about the right age, you know.
I think he'd be a bit older, wouldn't he? Because he was in Formula One before the likes of Alonso, wasn't he?
No, I think he was similar-ish time.
Was he?
He was mid-noughties.
Well, there's the NASCAR thing, though, isn't there?
I've not followed his career closely enough to notice or care if he's done NASCAR.
Right, one more clue before your next guess.
Sure.
I left open wheel racing early in my career to join DTM in 2004.
Paul di Resta.
Not old enough.
Isn't he?
No. Don't think so.
No, also Paul di Resta was a Formula One driver.
Yes.
Tense silence going on. I'm just feeling dead.
No idea.
No.
No idea.
I have nothing to offer at this point.
Sticking with your first guess?
No, because it's not him.
I don't think it can be.
It's clearly not him.
Do you want to pass on this one so we can move on?
Shall we?
What about the other one in the car, Sebastian Buemi?
Is younger.
Ooh.
He's 32.
Really?
Yep.
He's quite young still.
Uh-huh.
That's some good Sebastian Buemi facts you've got there,
There
Sean.
you go.
Okay, so we're working out who it isn't.
Yes, we're doing very well at who it isn't.
Yeah, just keep going.
I can move on.
I'm gonna throw into the mix Timo Bernhard just from the other week when you confused him with Timo Werner, who plays for Chelsea,
Fair enough.
who has
Yes.
definitely won 24 Hours of Le Mans and is German.
Fair enough. Go for that?
Why not?
Okay. Next clue. My father died in Canada, but I was continually inspired to pursue racing by my uncle.
It's not Jacques Villeneuve, but you're trying to lead us down a Jacques Villeneuve path with that.
I would just like to point out that this was sent in by Mason Cook from Canada.
Mason Cook is trying to lead us down a Jacques Villeneuve path.
He also put a pronunciation guide for his name just in case it ever got into Lee's hands.
It's good planning.
And also, P.S., we know Stroll's a bit of a muppet.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, you've got more clues, and there is a spaffer as well.
Good.
My favourite track is Monaco, even though I've had some bad moments there, such as crashing in qualifying and the race during a season of Formula Renault.
Christ.
And your next clue, I have never been a paid driver. And clue 10, prior to the spaffer,
Oh, good.
during one of my DTM seasons, I drove the infamous Playboy car.
I've never heard of it, so...
I'm assuming it had some kind of bunny on
I
it
mean,
somewhere.
I would imagine, yeah.
Infamous.
Yeah. Non-famous in my head.
Would you like a spaffer?
I
Yeah.
think we need it.
Okay. I have led every race I entered in my Formula One career.
Marcus Winkelhock.
Sorry.
Marcus Winkelhock.
Could very well be Marcus Winkelhock. I feel like I only
I'll
ever
go
hear
with
about
third.
him at this time in the
One
shunt.
race, and he led one race, German. He led that race, and I don't think he took part in any other races after that.
Yeah.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
I think so.
I am Marcus Winkelhock.
Yay.
Well done.
Well done,
You're
Chris.
on the
No, that was a good one, Mason. The idea of a good shunt is keep us guessing until the end.
Which that one did.
Yes.
Unless it's the Grand Slam one that we had the other week. Still chuffed with that one. How do you send in shunts?
You can send me a PM on Twitter or Instagram at a total shunt. If you've already sent me one, you need to give me a little buzz and get up to the top of the list.
I would
Because
suggest
lots-
more people send them in because it sounds like you don't have any.
Yeah, well, there might be some buried at the bottom of my inbox, but I get loads of fucking messages on social media, like fucking loads of them now.
That's
It's odd.
that's the perils of being an influencer, apparently.
That's it. The influencer, sex god, whatever it is, I get loads of the messages.
Dick
So when does
pics.
Lee Stevens fight Floyd Mayweather?
Wednesday.
And also, email a couple of reserve ones in for when things like tonight happen, because I'm down to my last 3. You can send those to 3legs4wheels@gmail.com. If you want to help us out as well, there is our Patreon. That at the moment we're not doing any extra Patreon shows, but we will get around to starting those again pretty soon with some exclusive stuff for all the subscribers. But you do get the main show early. If you go to patreon.com/3legs4wheels, then you can sign up there from as little as £1, $1 or €1 a month. And it all goes to pay the costs, help us
Or as
out.
much as you can afford.
Or as much as you can afford. And it all goes to pay the cost for the show, things like hosting, spare hardware, and the most important part of any podcast, biscuits.
Yes.
Get us on the socials at 3 Legs 4 Wheels on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And individually on Twitter we are...
At Sean Cowper.
At Flood21.
And at Pablo100. Right. That is it for this week. I think we've covered just about everything in the last just short of 2 hours. We'll be back next week to preview the French Grand Prix.
As you can tell, we're very excited about it.
I think it'll be fine.
I feel like, did we not say this ahead of Monaco, that we thought it would be fine? And it really was not.
I think we'll get enough to make it interesting. Like everything will be close enough to where it won't. At least it won't be what we've seen before as far as French Grand Prix goes. I don't think it's going to be the lap-to-lap thriller we've just seen, but I think the top and bottom of it goes, if you've got either Lewis Hamilton or Max Verstappen in an order together somewhere on the track, it's always interesting because I can't really remember. I think you'd probably have to go back to Hakkinen Schumacher, wouldn't you? Where we've seen the two championship contenders share the same bits of road so much.
That is true, but when you say it's going to be interesting, that's also what they still call Steve Davis.
Steve Davis is pretty interesting.
Time to go, I think.
Ginger solidarity. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.